Welcome, everyone, to Ladder Daily Digest and
Momo Nomo.
And so Tim's noticing that we're late. Yes, we're doing a little bit of technical training right now. Part of this video is to help Randy become a super smooth professional podcaster. And so he's going to be at the controls today. How are you feeling about that, Randy?
Oh, I'm super smooth. All right, Gene. It's just getting the technical stuff down.
This will seem just like Maven's in charge, I bet.
Yeah, there's like 1,000 buttons you have to push. And I can't even chew gum and walk at the same time. So this will be interesting.
Yeah, and we aired this show a year ago. Megan, Maven, and I interviewed John Dehlin, and we had such a good show. We broke it up into two segments. Earlier this week, we did the segment that talked about John's story of getting into podcasting. And then we asked a lot of questions about what advice he might have for podcasters, because Maven, Megan, and I are all podcasters, and Ladder Daily Digest is about honoring creators, and most of the creators that we've had on are podcasters. And so, although the authors are catching up fast.
Yeah.
And so anyhow, we thought we would run this and get Randy's, input on what he said as like a reaction video, and also give him some experience doing that. And yes, so this way it forces Randy to watch some of my older content. So that's the
well, and you know me, Gene, I've always got a lot to say, even if I don't know what I'm talking about.
That's right. These shows last year did in the thousands of views, and so not expecting that much today. But also, this is a sort of an advertisement for tonight. We're going to do a show honoring John Dehlin's 20 years on YouTube. 20 years ago today, on September 4th, 2005. That was the 5 that I wanted to say. John Dehlin aired some of his pre-recorded shows that he had done. He had already been releasing things to Spotify or whatever they had, Apple, iTunes, however they released videos 20 years ago. And so.
Well, and before we get started, I have a couple of things to say. Number one, any of you watching, I would like for you to get on your knees and pray for me, because I have my tax appointment after this.
That's right.
And I don't have money to pay taxes. So pray that I won't owe very much money. Yeah. Second, if you're watching this, I hate to be cliche, but remember to like it, because that really helps us with the algorithms. Like, and if you're not subscribed, subscribe. Some of you are on with us live, and I know we'll get more as we go. But whether you're watching the live or not, please like, subscribe, and if you think it's great, share it. If you don't think it's great, share it anyway. What the hell? You know what I'm saying, Gene?
That's right. And Randy right now is going to add the video to the screen. And if he clicks this right, it'll be a major achievement in Randy's podcasting career. And that's pretty good. And then he's going to go to the tab. Welcome, everyone, to Ladder Daily Digest. We honor creators, and we are here today to honor one of the pioneers and one of the greatest creators in, we'll say, the Mormon spectrum for now. And that's John Dehlin.
People joke like, oh, you're the ex-Mormon prophet. I don't think ex-Mormons see me as a prophet. I think they see me as a flawed, broken, problematic person. And I think that's how I am. So I'm glad people see me that way.
I'm pretty sure that people see John as such a flawed person, they even start making things up about him sometimes.
It's happened once or twice.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me into another curiosity that I have is I've always appreciated the way that when someone criticizes you on one of your live streams and you put the comment right up there and you address it right away. I think all of us have to deal, of course, we all have to deal with critics, because not everybody's going to love us. And certainly that's true of all of us. So I like to hear that you appreciate the criticism, because you don't want to be held up as an idol. But I also want to know, was there a time when that bothered you how did you deal with it early on when you got negative comments, when you were just starting out and trying to make it? How did you deal with that as a creator, and how did you not let that keep you from doing what you were doing?
See, now this is where I might have an issue. I am so thin-skinned sometimes that if I see anything negative, it's like my world collapses. So this is one of the areas that John seems to have overcome that I am going to have to overcome, because I'm too thin-skinned. Did you ever go through that, Gene? Has anyone?
Things do hurt my feelings, but I recently been able to get over it, because we're all just human animals that are trying to do our best, and we all have different DNA, and we had different second grade teachers, different parents, and I don't take it as personal as I used to. Any criticism, I just accept it, and maybe I could get better from hearing it. Sometimes I know I can't, like when people want me to be handsomer. So there's no way.
If you were any more handsome, Gene, I don't know what would do.
Yeah, I'd give Brad Pitt a run for his money, probably.
Right, exactly. Well, okay. I just wanted to ask you that. Let's see what we've got.
Yeah. Thanks. Definitely hypersensitive to criticism. And I really like to be liked, and I really hate to be hated. So in some ways, this is the worst possible pursuit I could follow in this space, where you're talking about religion, sex, and politics, and faith wars. I've been mercilessly criticized from the start for how long my podcasts are, for how much I interrupt people, for how not smart I am, for like how much I get the history wrong, for not being intellectual enough, for not knowing true feminism, for not understanding, for being racially insensitive, LGBT insensitive,
and the opposite, too woke.
Yeah, all that. And I make money, or I'm, criticizing the church, or not being hard enough on the church. That was a big deal. Like, I was always being attacked by Mormons for being anti-Mormon while I was faithful Mormon, and the ex-Mormons hated me because they felt like I was an apologist. And all I can say is you just develop thick skin over time, and you really do become insensitive to a lot of that. Although I really do love feedback, and when I'm doing something wrong, I want to hear it, because I really am committed. I don't think you can, for creators out there that want to be successful, criticism is like gold for helping you create a better product. So you're dumb if you ignore criticism. You just have to be able to filter out mean-spirited criticism that's not given in good faith. And usually you can tell people like that. They're just unreasonable, and their criticisms are just unfair. You want to just have that roll off your back like water off the back of your duck. But if somebody writes in and says that thumbnail is insensitive, or that the way you meet with women one-on-one and ask them about sexual stuff, that reminds me of bishops. You want to go, whoa, maybe I should have female co-hosts when I'm talking alone to a woman about sexual stuff. You want to improve with that type of feedback. So it's really healthy. You ignore the dumb stuff. You learn to accept the good stuff. But the other thing is the more you get better, the more people will watch you, the more they'll want to donate. So it's really important to listen to and accept feedback. It's crucial to success.
Even the feedback that's not in good faith is useful in a way. It almost shows you that you're doing the right thing, or you are triggering the right kinds of people, or maybe the wrong kinds of people. And I don't want to say that about all criticism, because it can be easy. I see people fall into that trap that any criticism means that I'm right and I'm doing the right thing. The flat earth community kind of sees that as, a validation. So And I think also maybe just not taking it personally. I remember the first time when I started off with Mormonism Live, the community was very positive and very accepting of me. So almost everything across the board was positive. And I remember the first comment on like a Facebook post where someone was like, I love when Maven pops up. I love what she has to share. And then there was someone that had written underneath it something like, I don't really care for her. And I remember feeling kind of hurt when I read that. And I was just like, well, and initially just for that second, I kind of took it personally, like, well, what's wrong with you? And like, I'm barely on anyway, but just like, why would you say that? But I just kind of took a step back and was just like, nobody is everybody's cup of tea. Even if you're doing everything perfectly, there's just going to be people that you're not their person. You're not going to reach them. And so I realized this isn't anything that this person is doing to me by not liking me. That's fine. And it's, that's going to happen. And they're still a good person, even if they don't care what I bring to something.
So what I gather from this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Gene, but, they say that no news is good news, right? And
Right.
I guess that any feedback is actually good feedback if it's received correctly.
Right.
If there are people that are disagreeing with you, at least they're listening to you. And I've noticed that John is a master at this. He'll take feedback, and I don't know. I know he's gotten a lot of suggestions of how to improve, and I can only assume that he must have taken those suggestions to heart and done it, because he's been so successful. But
Right. The ones that you don't take are when you have a vision for your brand, and as long as the suggestion fits within his brand, like making the show better the way
Right.
he wants it. If it's something that changes direction for him, then he's not interested in probably as much.
Well, and on the fly, he may have to block people too. I think we're going to hear about that shortly. But anyway, we'll continue on.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I'll just say one other piece of feedback for creators is block. I used to get so much hate for blocking people, but I don't apologize for blocking people anymore. If somebody writes in and says, "Hey, John, you used a word that was insensitive," I thank them for it. If somebody writes in and says, "John, you're just in it for the money, and you're an abusive human, and you hate everyone and you eat children," I block them immediately. Like, I don't suffer fools, I don't feed the trolls, and I feel no hesitation. If somebody's gonna lie about me, smear me, defame me, immediate block. Don't spend any time with them, because it drains. You do have to preserve your energy, your time, and your morale. And you just can't spend your time suffering fools, and you can't spend your time on stupid drama. The other thing I just want to say about criticism and feedback is the most important thing you can ever do is create valuable content, not debate people in the comments, not second guess yourself and have a million conversations with a million different people. What you have to do is relentlessly be committed to creating a high volume of quality content. And that's the best thing you can ever do.
Okay, so this is something that I have heard time and time again when I listen to successful creators, whether it's the post-Mormon community or any other community, is consistency. Create content, keep it going, and hopefully quality content. I think consistency is a big key here. I've noticed, Gene, that you do that. Sometimes I'll hear you invite someone that, to come on the show, and I'm like, well, don't we already have a show lined up? And it doesn't matter. We need to keep them coming, keep that consistency going. So,
right. I'll tell you that Steve Pinecker of Mormon Book Reviews, he got sick last year with dizziness from inner ear problems or whatever. I can't remember what it's called, but he couldn't produce content for a little while, and his views took a big hit. So even when he kicked back in and started doing shows again, a lot of people unsubscribed because just he wasn't doing things, and people clean out their subscriptions, I guess, every now and then. And so also the algorithm said, well, if you're not going to do shows, we're not going to promote you either, right? But now he's back up and doing lots of good guests and doing interviews. So that is the key, consistency. Otherwise, you have to build up again.
Good advice, I'm sure. Okay.
That's how you can respond to critics, and that's how you can get better, and that's how you can make a difference, and that's what this is all about. And so, I one of the things I'm grateful for or proud of is just my consistency, that I'm just relentlessly creating new content, because you can also get stuck in sort of analysis paralysis. You can be insecure about, did I say that right? Let me spend 3 hours on a 1 hour episode editing out what I said. I don't even listen to my past episodes ever. Like, I remember when Cara Burrell was working for me, every single time she'd do an episode, I'd call her afterwards and she'd be home rewatching her episode. I think that's smart. I think that's good. So you can, figure out, what you did right and what you did wrong. I don't fault her for doing that. I respect it. But for me, it's like, on to the next episode. I ain't got time to worry about or obsess about or even edit. So just the decision to never edit my episodes partly was just practical. I had no staff. I wasn't getting paid. For the first 5 years, I didn't make any money off of this, and I had no one helping me. I didn't have time to spend 3 hours to edit every 1 hour. It'd be 10 hours of edits for a 3 hour episode. So I just decided I'm not editing. I'm just going to roll tape, chop off the beginning and the end, throw on the bumpers, and we're going live with this. And, that allowed me to be efficient and productive, and it allowed me just to focus on new content and not on getting stuck in the criticism. I don't know. It worked for me.
Do you think starting out, maybe I could see it being beneficial, at least for a little, because I do feel like you learn things about yourself when you do go back and watch something. I've had that happen before, where I realized that I would do either something with my face or say a word or something a little too often. But it can be really easy, even if you start to do that, it can be really easy to get locked in. Megan's nodding. I think we all we understand it, and we've been there. But I do think that if someone's starting out, especially if they're not used to public speaking or speaking into a microphone and a camera, I feel like it could be useful, but definitely not to continue on forever, because you're right. It just takes too much time.
I'm sure it's useful. I'm sure I would have benefited from it. I'm sure I still could, but I'm always like shortcut guy. If I just wait for the comments, and if my listeners hate something I do, they'll tell me. I'd rather just wait for them to tell me than have to go rewatch. I hate the sound of my own voice. I hate listening to how I interview or things I say. I hate it. So it's just the last thing I want to do is watch myself talk.
Do you have friends that are closer to you? I know, because on the one hand, friends can be maybe too good of allies sometimes.
Okay, this makes me feel really good to hear John say that he hates watching himself. He hates listening to himself. He doesn't watch his videos. He doesn't have time. I can't stand to, once we're done with the video, I can't stand to go back and see myself. I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I sound. And I do nothing but criticize myself. So that makes me feel good that I'm not the only one.
That's right. I remember being like 7 or 8, and we had a recorder, a tape recorder, probably one of the first cassette recorders when they were out. And I couldn't believe how different my voice sounded than what it sounded like to me back then.
It sounds so much better in my head, than it does in this.
But I still love to hear it.
Well, you're all going to have to just trust me. I have an incredible voice if you were inside my head.
But I love what the guests say more than myself. So if I rewatch it, it's usually to re-listen to what the guests have said.
You know what else I love that he said is that he was doing it for 5 years before he even made a cent on this.
That's right. Randy and I are shooting for 20 years before we make a cent. Unless people want to donate, we'll take some donations to help pay for how much does StreamYard cost? Hundreds of dollars a year, right?
Yeah, 800 and some bucks a year. So
yeah.
If I could just pay for that would be great. I'd take it.
It's good to have a benefactor. John Dehlin mentioned, I think, in the last time that he had somebody give him $500, and like that, at one hand, he said he didn't really need it because he probably had $1 million of stock options still from working at Microsoft, but it made him feel good that somebody valued what he was doing. So
Has anyone handed you $500, Gene, and said, keep up the good work?
So somebody was handing out $100 bills at Sunstone, and I asked for one, and he had run out, but he pulled out his wallet and gave me $75.
Seriously?
So that was pretty good. That was a good day.
Someone was handing out money at Sunstone?
Yeah, he gave $100 to Dan McClellan and $100 to Alyssa Grenfell, and I had brought him to them, and so when he stopped handing out the $100 bills, I like, I kind of helped you meet these people.
Well,
and so he appreciated it, but it did probably seem awkward. And I remember Dan telling Alyssa, go ahead and take it, because people are human beings. They want to help and support people, right? And if that's what he wants to do to show his support, let them do it.
Well, Gene, if you ever want to, allow me the opportunity to help you even more, I would love a $100 bill.
There you go.
Okay, here we go.
And be too willing to take our side and just discount what our critics are saying. But I also feel like, and I try to have friends that I know have different perspectives, and just so that I feel like I have somebody that I can trust for their opinion if I'm doing something wrong, or if something does need to change. So rather than just leaving it to strangers on the internet, having somebody that I know that may disagree with me but still wants the best for me and can tell me honestly, yeah, you went too far here, or this was a bad idea, maybe in the future don't do that. Do you feel like you have people like that, or in your like repertoire, I guess, or maybe you're far enough that you don't even need that? But
yeah, I'll say one of the most offensive accusations ever made against me is that, like, I can't take criticism, or a cousin of that is that I surround myself with yes men who won't criticize me, and will just do whatever I want to do. Like, so for an example, like, I've been accused of, like, let's just say abuse or harassment or whatever. Like, I would only pick a board member who would have zero tolerance for abuse. I would only pick a board member who would have zero tolerance for any financial impropriety. I pick people to surround me who would never let me be abusive or dishonest, who would call me on my garbage. That's who I surround myself with. That's who Clint Martin is. That's who Carrie Whitbeck is. Go through my past boards. Kim Turner, Nadine McCombs Hansen,
Natasha.
anyone who's been on my past board.
Spicy, and I feel like she would.
Who?
Natasha. She's been on the board, right?
Natasha. Yeah.
She'll tell you what she thinks.
100%. Like, I only want people that, your board of directors is there to keep you out of trouble. Somebody told me that really early on, to keep you from fraud, keep you from abuse, keep you from financial malfeasance. So I've never had a board member, if I was a tiny bit abusive or snuck a little bit of money here or there, I've never chosen a person who wouldn't do anything other than just call me out and immediately resign. And that's who I surround myself with. The people that I work with, my family, Margie, I don't think I've ever been accused by people who care about me that I can't take criticism gracefully. I think that's actually, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I think that's a talent of mine. That's a positive trait of mine. So when people accuse me of, like, surrounding myself with yes men and not being able to take criticism, I just think that's way off of who I am. And that just tells me those people don't know me.
Yeah. Can we, I just want to check in as far as we're going for time. I think maybe this could be a good place to end, and unless we don't any last questions from Megan or Gene, or if you do have a little bit more time, we could ask about maybe advice or things that you've noticed about other podcasters coming into the scene, especially like you said, when you started, there were like 3 other podcasts that you found. And so since you joined, and you are, I think, the largest and the longest running, at least as far as Mormonism goes, now we see like an explosion of creators and different content platforms out there. So we can also talk about that, about trends you've noticed or advice that you would give. But if you're short on time, we can wrap it up here, and we can.
No, I planned on a 2-hour interview, so I've got another 30 to 40 minutes. But
So now,
I know that this is putting the cart before the horse a little bit, but the advice that he's about to give was really, this is probably slapped me in the face more than anything he said to bring me into reality. That's when he's talking about how difficult this business really is. You know what I mean, Gene?
yeah, he advises people not to do it if it's not healthy for them.
Yeah. I just wanted to put that out there, that this is a dose of reality.
Whatever
Okay.
you guys want for your
Yeah.
show.
Gene or Megan, anything personal about John you want to ask about before moving to like the general observations or advice?
Yeah, no, I was gonna I didn't have any more personal questions, but that was gonna be my next question was gonna be that John, you've been around for such a long time. You've seen so many creators come and go. Can you share with us what you've learned about what works and what doesn't work?
Yeah, thanks. I love that question. I love trying to help people become successful creators. I'll say, I've said this before, I think my number one superpower is not quitting. One interesting lesson I learned really early on, those couple times I was getting a lot of momentum, downloads were really significant, the growth rate was exponential, and then I just stopped. You lose a lot of viewers and listeners when you quit. And it's devastating. It reminds me, Ross Perot was running for president back when I was like, younger. And he was like having all this momentum. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, I can't run for president. My daughter is getting married, blah, blah, blah. All his support disappeared. And then he tried to come back and it was just totally worthless. I learned from him and from those few times I stopped how hard it was to build back up, because not only do people just stop paying attention, but they kind of lose a little bit of interest, but they also lose a little bit of trust. It's like, oh, he's not really committed. So I like to say that, since 2010, I've been going 14 years, really hardcore, without a week going by without an episode. Most weeks have 2 or 3 or 5 episodes. And just so many times, whether it's the excommunication, marital struggles, family struggles, financial struggles, board struggles, haters, defamation, antagonists, discouragement. I just haven't quit. So I think that's my biggest superpower, is just never quitting. And this space is so toxic. The ex-Mormon community is amazing. It's filled with beautiful people, and it can be a cesspool full of toxic, broken toys. It's both. And so the fact that I've survived 19 years, I think is a miracle. And so that's one thing I want to say about that.
Can I ask about that?
Yeah, sure.
I'm wondering, like, how is it, do you feel when you were going through something difficult? Because this is how I am. I know when things are really out of balance in my life, or I'm just not feeling on top of things, it's really difficult for me to push through and do these things, especially interviews, especially if I'm facing other people. It just seems like the anxiety just really peaks when I'm not doing as well. So it almost like hurts more to try to do it. And I also worry or feel that I won't be offering my best to an interview if I'm feeling like so many things that are going on in the background. So have you felt that way too, and you just did it anyway? Or like, do you have a trick for pushing through when you feel like maybe because of the things that are going on that you don't have it in you to provide a quality product, but it's the consistency that matters? I don't know. Do you have an answer for that?
Oh my gosh, Maven, I'm so glad you asked me that question. Like, if somebody comes to me and says, should I be a content creator in the ex-Mormon space? My template-based advice would be no. You'd be crazy to enter into the space, not because it's super hard to become sustainable, which it is, but just because it's so brutal. It's so brutal. Everything from losing, losing family members who are believers, losing friends who are believers, being demonized by believers, to toxic ex-Mormons who want to tear you down and criticize you and destroy you, to the defamation, to being called horrible things on the internet, just to the like power dynamics of like getting along with people and then if you try and work with someone, then it doesn't work out. They want to destroy you and take you down, or shit talk you, or even just like you work with someone and then they break off and want to do their own thing, and you're just like, great, I just invested in them and supported them, and now they're off. Like, it is, and then just the topics, all the trauma, all the abuse, all the dishonesty and the malfeasance, and just all the heaviness of the topics of racism and sexism and feminism and homophobia and the faith politics. Like, no, run away. Like, my first bit of advice to creators is run away. You'd be crazy to be in this space. Don't do it.
So there you go.
So that's not the most encouraging thing in the world, but he obviously knows what he's talking about, because he's brutally honest about it being a very difficult row to hoe. And I think if someone doesn't have just a real specific niche, that it's kind of a dog eat dog world out there, right?
And I think that's why a lot of people don't like public appearances, public things that they do. They don't want to teach a class even because somebody might criticize them or something like that. And so it's kind of natural to avoid that, let everybody else do that thing. And so anyway, yeah, you have to have some reason that's really good. That's what, like, I had a really good reason. Randy just wanted to be like me, which is not a very good reason.
I want to be you when I grow up, Gene.
That's right. And so, yeah, but there are difficulties. It's like, but overall, meeting people and doing all these things that I've gotten to do is, makes it worth it to me. And it almost sounds a little bit like John doesn't want, competition, but he's also being honest about how it's tough on your psyche.
Yeah, I think he's going to talk a little bit about competition coming up here. I know that when Bill Rill first started, John was a little intimidated by him, but I think we'll hear him talk about that now.
Do it. Don't do it. That's
but
honestly
if they're not smart
feel.
enough to listen to that advice, then what's the
Don't
next?
talk about me like that, Maven.
No, I mean it. This is not healthy. It's not healthy to do this.
But
for most
here's
people.
what I would say. Here's what I'd say, John, is, and I think this has been brought up before. The Mormon story is a human story. And that's also what attracts a lot of people, I think, that aren't Mormon to your podcast in particular, because everybody can resonate with the different things that we humans go through, whether it's because of belief or because of life changes or anything like that. And it probably is, every podcaster would say the same thing, about losing friends once they started giving their opinions on their podcast. That's what I think.
Yeah. I don't think any of us would be here if it weren't for you and your podcast. So if you had taken your own advice, where would we be? So
Well, I just want to say, like, I don't want to sound like I'm discouraging people to enter the space, because I love it when people enter the space. It was so lonely for so long. And then, honestly, when John Larson came on with Mormon Expression, there was more of an antagonistic vibe. Like, John was trying to be John Larson was trying to be not John Dehlin. He would swear. He would talk about stuff I was uncomfortable. They were all out of the church. They were willing to, swear and criticize the church in ways I wasn't comfortable. And they would make fun of me, or at least I felt like that was true. Infants on Thrones also started out as kind of friendly, but then I felt like they became more and more antagonistic over time. That's been true about a lot of people. A lot of the people that I helped get started, helped promote, helped encourage, ended up becoming enemies, because I think there's this really good book called The Status Game. And this idea of crabs seeing another crab crawling out of the bucket and they pull them back in. We're freaking bonobos. We humans are bonobos. And when we see someone else gaining status, I think it's in our nature to want to tear them down and destroy them, if not because we're jealous, but because oftentimes you can build up your status by invoking someone else of higher status and then trying to knock them down. So anyway, I love it when people join. I was lonely for so long, and I'm thrilled that we now have this vibrant ecosystem of creators relative to how it used to be. So anyway, but I still do think it's not healthy. I think most people can't survive. I think it's more harmful than beneficial. So I guess that leads to my next part of my answer to your question, Maven. I think because my parents got divorced and I think I had some trauma growing up, one of the ways I dealt with that is to just wall off my feelings and just do what was right and ignore my feelings. So I do think I'm more calloused to my feelings than most people. And people that I've worked with have noticed that I don't cry a lot, that people can be telling me about some of their deepest traumas, and I don't seem affected by it. It doesn't mean I don't feel things. It doesn't mean I don't care, but I'm really like top-notch pro compartmentalizer, and I'm top-notch pro at numbing my feelings. And I literally went to a therapist yesterday. I'm in therapy to try and heal from all the ways I've become calloused to my feelings, partly because of being Mormon, partly because of my background, and partly because of Mormon stories. So I don't even think it's healthy, but Maven, how have I coped with it? By becoming desensitized to my feelings. And that's impacted my relationships with my family. And I'm not proud of that. And all I can say is I'm proud that I'm now in therapy to try and work on that.
Thanks for being so open and vulnerable about that. I really don't feel like I've seen that or this kind of advice come through. A lot of people, it's just anyone can start it. It's click that button on Amazon or go get the microphone at Walmart. I think there is a lot to consider, and I appreciate you bringing kind of the raw side of it there.
Yeah.
Gene or Megan, do you have a?
Yeah, for sure. I think it is so important for people to consider if they're going to enter the space. But one of the comments you made, John, is so true. When we have this scarcity mentality and we think that the space is a pizza, and if somebody else takes a slice, that means less for us, so we want to tear them down. That's one of the reasons I love, Gene and Maven, what you're doing here, because it gives us an opportunity to collaborate and to help each other. And that's one of the things that I'm passionate about, is collaborating with other people. When I saw it happen for the first time when I went on Mormon Stories in October with Lauren of Hidden True Crime and with Mindy. We had this great overlap of channels where, some of Lauren's audience came to John's channel for the first time and vice versa. And it gave me this idea that one of the best ways to be successful in this space is to collaborate with people and to partner with people and to find those places where your channels can overlap. So I love what you guys are doing.
Thanks. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, yeah, thanks. When I wanted to get Maven more time in front of everybody by having her come on my show and do the things that we did together, I thought that honoring creators would be the best way for it. And, I'm not that much of a talent, but if I can bring on other people that are talented and other people who are creators, then that makes our show work. And so thank you, Megan.
Yeah, sure. And I guess my last question for you,
Megan, can I address one thing before you go on? Don't forget the question. Put a pin in that because I want to hear it. But I do want to.
So, I do have a question. Do you know what bonobo means?
So bonobo is a type of ape. We are all descended from apes, and bonobos' behavior exhibit more human-like traits, I think. And so somebody studied bonobos and talked about how maybe this is how we were 800,000 years ago.
I kind of get the idea that means trying to compete or get ahead of. Is that right?
I think it means polygamy.
Okay. Well, then you and I, we have some work to do.
So the bonobo is, like our roots, our what our basic human or animalistic tendencies are. I think that's what he was talking about.
All right. Well, we better get to it here.
And thanks to Megan for spreading some sugar on Latter Daily Digest there.
Right? Yeah. Thank you very much, Megan.
Address the scarcity mentality really quick. Is that okay?
Yeah.
When I was feeling threatened by Mormon Expression or even Infants on Thrones, especially when I felt like they were antagonistic towards me at a few points, it was a terrible way to always just be worrying about the next criticism or the next joke or the next snide comment, and to feel like you were in competition and to feel like it was a zero-sum game. It was miserable. And then I remember Bill Reel. I interviewed Bill Reel on Mormon Stories when he was still an active bishop. And then later, as the church was getting ready to excommunicate me, Bill said, I'm starting a podcast, and I did my best to help him. But it seemed really clear that he was trying to fill the vacuum of like faithful Mormon podcast once the church was kind of starting to kick me out. And at first I felt threatened by that too. And I thought, crap, now Bill's going to take my audience away and I'm just going to be an ex-Mormon podcast and that's going to suck. But once you see enough people come and either come and go or come and stay, you realize, okay, wait a minute, like Bill's doing well, but I'm still doing well. And Mormon Expression was doing well and I kind of miss it. And I'm sad Infants on Thrones is gone, And then, once I got excommunicated and I just got sick of this scarcity mentality and all the mean-spiritedness and all the divisiveness and backstabbing in with so many of the ex-Mormon creators, I just said, I'm going to try something different. And so, I begged Bill Reel to come back out of his retirement. And I did all I could to promote RFM. And I promoted Lindsay Hansen Park and Year of Polygamy. And I just said, I'm just going to promote everyone and see what happens. And sure enough, I helped grow them, but they helped grow me. And then we grew this ecosystem. And yeah, people found their own audiences, but somehow we all kept growing and we even grew more. And I also thought, oh, more nonprofits are starting. Oh, now Bill's asking for donations. Oh, now RFM's asking for donations. Oh, Sunstone's asking for donations. You know what? Donations have only grown for all of us. And so you benefit by collaborating, not only because it gives you better content, but because it makes you look good, because these people become friends. These people become allies over time. They've got your back. You've got theirs. And then there just becomes this ecosystem where
I think that I like to compare this to these outdoor malls you see. Like someone has an idea for a store, and so they put a store up in this big parking lot, and other stores decide, well, since they've got a store, I'm going to get a store put up, and all of these stores start coming in, and it turns into an outdoor mall.
Right.
Well, it doesn't hurt the first store that all these other stores are coming in, because it actually attracts more people, and they have a better selection if they go to this big parking lot where all these stores are. And that's what I always look at it as. So everyone has different desires of what type of content they want to take in. And the post-Mormon space is just this big mall where people can go shopping, but they're all there. And most of them end up looking at just about all the podcasts and commenting. So yeah, I think competition is pretty healthy in this field.
Yeah. And like I've been saying a lot, rising tide lifts all ships. And that's what it is. The more, the merrier, I'll say.
Gene, I was wondering how long it was going to be before you used that analogy, a rising tide lifts all ships. And you didn't let me down.
That's right. My inner seaman came through.
How do you spell that, seaman?
I always wanted to be on either the Nina or the Pinta or the Santa Maria.
I don't want to hear about your inner seaman.
That's right. So
they all start telling all their networks about all the different creators, and then people come and find the creator that's a good fit for them. And so it's kind of like Silicon Valley. Like Apple was there, Motorola was there, or Intel, or Hewlett Packard, or Google, or it's no accident that all of these tech companies all sprung up around other tech companies. It's because there's this virtuous cycle of collaboration and an expansion when you no longer have a zero-sum game scarcity mentality. So anyway,
it's good for the audience too, especially because people have different things to bring to the table. So like with Year of Polygamy, I'm very weak on that subject. So I would much rather have someone come on that has spent the hours and hours and hours that she has, delving into this, versus having me to have to do all of the same research from scratch, basically, to do the same thing. So yeah, Megan, do you still have that question?
I do, believe it or not, it's still in there. Yeah, I was going to ask, since you have observed this space for so long, where do you see gaps in the content? What are the voices that you wish were out here, since there are so many creators now?
Oh, that's so hard, Megan. Like when you were wanting to do your show, or Maven, I think you're incredibly talented and smart, Maven, and good-hearted. You too, Megan. Gene, I loved having gelato with you and your wife, and your knowledge of this space and all the contributors is just so good. Like I'm constantly just stunned by how many brilliant people are around me that would do a way better job, I believe. And I really believe this isn't feigned modesty or self-deprecation. Like I really believe there's so many people that could do my job better than me, but it's really hard to carve a niche for yourself. Like, and once there's established players in this space, it's really hard to make a name for yourself. But then also the hardest part of all, but the most important part, I was just going to say, one rule is you got to create content weekly. You're really never going to be relevant if you don't at least create some meaningful offering once a week. And then the other thing is you have to monetize. If you don't monetize, you're really not sustainable. So you need to be able to at least make a living off of the content you create, or you're going to quit. You're going to burn out. And what that means is you need to find content that people really value. And that's tricky. It's tricky to do that and not lose your soul. So for example, I could do like true crime all day long and grow and grow and grow and grow. I could, and this, Lauren Matthias and John Hidden True Crime, they don't do this, but you could be, sort of like who's the guy with the bow tie that left Fox News? Like you could be a Carson, what's his name?
Tucker Carlson.
Tucker Carlson. Yeah. Oh. You could always be like a Glenn Beck or a Tucker Carlson. You could be shrill. You could be angry, spitting, frothing from the mouth, uncharitable characterizations, following, dramatic stories and violent stories, or attacking people. Yeah, anyone can grow that way, but then you lose your soul and you're a jerk and you're actually not making the world a better place. So how do you talk about constructive things, but keep it interesting, but not be repetitive, but monetize, but not be too angry, but not be too kind, but to do something new when there's 2 decades worth of content already out there? It's impossible. Like the minute that Oprah went from people throwing chairs at each other, like you stole my wife, or you're my mom's dad, Siamese twins, like whatever it is, like soon as Oprah went positive healing growth, her channel pretty much ended. Turns out most people don't want content about healing and growth and positivity. They want nut punches to Joseph Smith. They want scandal. They want, attacks on the church. And that's a very negative space to constantly be marinating in. If you're always just attacking things because that's what's interesting or attractive, that's hard. So, I don't know. It's a miracle when people are able to be financially sustainable in this business. And it's hard to find a niche where you don't lose your soul and you're still contributing. And I don't know a secret sauce other than releasing weekly, listening to feedback, and building a tribe. There's this guy named Seth Godin. I think that's his name. He's a marketing expert, and he's like, find your smallest sustainable audience, and you just got to pick a area of pain that a lot of people are experiencing where the need is not being filled, and then you relentlessly fill it. And you don't just create content, you recruit your viewers and listeners to join a cause. If you go back and listen to my 2010 Mormon Stories episode where I bring the podcast back, I'm not saying I'll provide you with content that's helpful to you. What I said was there's this tidal wave epidemic of people leaving Mormonism. It's leading to divorce. It's leading to depression. It's leading to suicide. It's tearing families apart. Join me. Donate to Mormon Stories, not just because I'm going to provide you with content, but you'll be supporting a movement to help thousands of people save families, save lives, make the world a better place, improve the church. Join with me in a movement. That's how I did it. And that worked over time. And it's continued to work. But also, I've just been relentless about improving my video, improving my audio, getting better at interviewing, picking new guests, always thinking about what's an interview that's going to be compelling. So many people so many people want to do just what's interesting to them. They want to follow their own passion. And that's great if there's an audience that's hungry for that content. But if you have more allegiance to your niche interests or your passion, but there's no audience there craving for the content that you're going to be providing, you're going to be speaking into a void. You're going to have just dozens of views versus hundreds or thousands of views. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the problem is, if you don't have enough feedback to keep you motivated, and if you don't have enough views to feel relevant, and most importantly, if you don't have the financial donations to make it sustainable, you won't last. And so that's why you just gotta find the pain that's unmet, that's got a large group of people that need your support, call them to a cause, recruit them into a movement as community members, and then never quit. That's how you do it. And it's excruciating. And it's so hard, but that's the formula. Find that, never quit, and never stop trying to get better and improving. That's the formula.
And also, it seems like, but not allowing the improvements to delay your start or your continuation of content. I guess that's something that I do a lot. Is I keep thinking I need this in place first, or I need that, or I need that. And
no, just
nope.
release it, fail fast, release it, just become a content machine, and everything you release, learn from it, and then do better the next time. And simple is better, and just get it out there. And volume, for me, I learned by volume much more than I did by analysis or thinking or contemplation. Volume plus paying attention to feedback plus become a consumer. Like, learn from me how I did it. Rip off my ideas and my.
So what are you thinking now, Randy?
Well, I'm thinking that those are the three elements of success, what he's saying right there. Volume being one that I've noticed with you is that you want to just keep going. We may not find the biggest celebrities to interview, but keep creating content and keep going. Don't quit. I think that's a brilliant piece of advice. And then, listen to feedback and make improvements as needed. Sometimes I get thinking I'm really good, and then someone says, well, actually, no, you're not. And rather than, put my tail between my legs and just go into the fetal position and cry, I actually listen to what they say. My Amanda gives me constant feedback about things that I can improve on. And now I'm old enough to actually listen and realize, hey, maybe this old dog can learn new tricks. And I think John's, telling us that same thing. It's a great advice, in my opinion. What do you think?
So I think he needs to take more of his advice. He needs to collaborate more. He needs to bring Alyssa Grenfell on a show about a subject. Alyssa just did the Architecture of Abuse channel. He could bring her on and co-promote that. They could do a simulcast and tell the world about that very interesting and needed channel that Alyssa was part of. And so yes, he could do more collabs. He could do another collab with Shalise Ann Sola.
We could do a collab with Shalise Ann Sola and Alyssa Grenfell. So if you two are listening to this, come on.
That's right. I have been collaborating with Megan Connor. We've been doing some shows together. Our Tuesdays with Tim is basically showcasing people. I bring in other podcasters to the conversation, and they get to promote their show a little bit. And so yeah, it's something that if the big players did more, they could grow more. I mean, I think about Alyssa Grenfell's channel. Half of her almost 500,000 subscribers might not have even heard of John Dehlin yet or cared to watch any of his videos. So if 10% of the 250,000 subscribers that haven't really cared about John Dehlin view it, 25,000, and then maybe half of those subscribe, John Dehlin will finally reach 300,000. That's what I think it'll take him to reach 300,000 before Halloween this year.
Well, you heard it here first, folks.
There you go.
Okay. Well, I think we'll get back to the show because I know that time is marching on.
My techniques, I don't mind. I wish more people would do that, you know? So just steal ideas and borrow and learn from other people that are doing it and become a consumer of the types of things you want to be a creator of. Those are some ideas.
There you go.
I think that's so amazing. You have so much passion and enthusiasm for what you're doing, and you have so much knowledge, having been in this space for such a long time. And I think this is going to be so valuable to anybody who's considering becoming a creator, and to the existing creators. We need to tag everybody in this.
The other thing is, the other quick thing is, when you're building what you do, find people bigger than you to go on their show and to bring them on your show. Take advantage of other people's networks. And when it really gets beautiful, like with Hidden True Crime, is when I can bring my audience to Hidden True Crime, and Hidden True Crime can bring their audience to me. I try to do that with Mormonism Live, with Radio Free Mormon, with Mormonish, with anyone that I could. I tried to be generous with my audience, but I love it when I was able to get people bigger than me or as big as me to let me come on and share their audience with me. So reciprocation, cross-network collaboration is a crucial key to success and to growth.
Right. Cross promotion, collaboration. Yeah. That's the way to have the rising tide lift all ships.
And honestly, Gene, that's, when you helped me realize how generous you've been in supporting me over the years, which I was really moved by. I knew it, but I'm always just so busy. I don't have the time sometimes to be as grateful as I should be. Obviously, Maven, you've been incredible all along. Megan, you're a dear friend and you've been amazing support. But Gene, for this podcast specifically, once I realized just how committed you've been and supportive of me, I'm like, John, you've been a jerk to not have been more supportive of Gene. And my hope is that you reach 1,000+ subscribers from this episode. So right now, everybody freaking support this episode. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Let's get them 10,000 subscribers and views. Let's help them monetize and be wildly successful. And
Share.
Maybe I don't know if you're doing, a YouTube channel based on some of your interests, like reproductive rights or whatever. I know that you recently did an episode that I was thrilled to try and drive people to. Megan, I know that you've got an amazing channel you're launching. Like, I want y'all to succeed, and I want to do everything I can to help you.
That's right. We didn't want to invite you on when we had 7 subscribers, because tripling 7 subscribers wouldn't have helped any.
I think you've given us a lot to think about. I'm almost overwhelmed with, I think, my own thoughts, just kind of running from the things that you have said. But any other questions from anyone else?
So one thing for sure is, Maven, you have your at Amazing Maven channel that is going to be there, and also say what the other channel is.
The other one I started, and it's really just on the ground, is Dear Pro Life Dad, and that is my reproductive rights based channel that I'm trying to launch. But I'm really having a lot of struggles, and I think I learned a lot here today from John, I think, to think about with that, and I also just want to kind of jump on board the gratitude train for you, Gene, for everything you've done again with this show. And I just feel like you've been behind me for a lot of this, and I wouldn't be where I'm at without you as well. So thank you for the opportunity, and thanks for letting me plug my new show that I'm struggling with a little bit. Yeah.
Maybe can I also say that if this space, I've told many people I've worked closely with this, if you find this space isn't good for your mental health or good for your mental health right now, there's nothing wrong when it's time to let it go. I think this space is toxic for almost everyone. It's a miracle that it's a miracle that you, Maven, have survived as long as you have. You've been incredibly resilient and impactful, I should add. But also, your own well-being should always come first. And there's no shame in laying down the microphone temporarily or permanently.
I feel that, but I think part of the issue, and I do feel like in the ex-Mormon community, I feel like I've been treated much better than a lot of other people have. Overall, it's been, I think, pretty overwhelmingly positive. It is a lot tougher for me in the reproductive rights area, I think, and it is tough on my mental health, because I think I do have some still unresolved trauma around it, but it's also really important to me. So I kind of feel this pull of like, I just really want to be doing something to help. So yeah, so that's kind of like what I'm navigating right now, is just like, I don't I think my mental health struggles when I feel like I'm not doing something, but I also feel like it's tough to be in it, especially when there's people that, in this space, what I see is, I mean, in Mormon, we see a lot of harm, that we see families split apart and everything. And I feel like that's what I'm seeing in this other arena too. But not just that, but people's health and lives quite literally on the line, we're talking about really rough stuff, but like, I want to make the world a better place. So I kind of feel like I should, or I want to be able to push through the darkness to be able to help. So I don't know if you have any thoughts about that. You can add to. I don't know what.
I mean, like I took time off, so like don't be afraid to take time off. And I'll just say like okay. There was this time when I was still active in the church where I didn't believe, and I was seeing all these LGBT deaths by suicide and all these divorces, and I was super tormented. It's like, I love the church. I want to raise my kids in it. It's been good for me. I'm trying to change from within, but I'm miserable and I feel like I'm complicit in the harm. And I hate these meetings when people lie or hide things or say dumb things or bigoted things. I spent years in this tormented place about whether I should stay or go, whether I should leave the church or not. And what I realized is I would stay. I was going to stay in the church for as long as I could stay. And as soon as I couldn't stay anymore, I was going to leave. And ultimately they kicked me out. But what I realized is if it's meant to be, there's nothing that's going to keep you from doing it. But if you can't do it, then it wasn't meant to be, or it's not meant to be right now. And that's what I tell people. It's not like, the question isn't how do I make my YouTube channel or podcast channel successful? It's more, is it something you have to do? And there's just no option because you're going to do it whether you're successful or not. That's how Mormon Stories was. I went 5 years with no income, doing it as a side gig when there was no money and in lots of adversity. I couldn't not do it. So your endeavor is going to be successful if you can't not do it. If it's what you want to do in your spare time and there's nothing that can stop you. And if there's anything that can stop you, it probably will. And that just means it's not for you right now or ever. But that's kind of what it really comes down to is it'll be successful if success is the only option from you, right? But don't kill yourself or wear yourself out or harm your own mental health. There's so many other ways to make a difference in the world, positive difference. Especially starting your own channel is so hard. Like another option is instead of starting your own channel, being a collaborator with people that already have a channel. Like I love the fact that I can bring on Alyssa Whitbeck or Samantha Shelley or Megan or Lauren or Mindy or RFM or Bill Reel or the Black Menaces or whoever. And I can pay them, Kara, I can pay them to come on. They can reach 100,000 people or more by coming on, and I get great content and they're making a big difference. So being a collaborator on someone's successful channel can be way better than starting your own nonprofit and trying to start your own channel from scratch. I honestly wish there was more consolidation sometimes versus everyone trying to recreate the wheel with a new nonprofit and a new channel. Yeah. Not because I want power, I don't. And not because I need more drama or headaches or staff, because I don't. But it's not efficient for everybody to try and start their own channel and their own nonprofit. So that's where it gets complicated. But that's an option I think more people should consider.
And one thing that Maven and I have talked about also is like crafting a message, right? I think that you with Mormon Stories tried to steady the message every single time. Is people have stories and we're going to let the audience see their stories. And that's helped you stay the course, I think.
Yeah. Well, I should also say that Mormon Stories would not exist without all the amazing people that have been willing to tell their story, like you, Maven, like you, Megan, like literally thousands of people have been willing to come on and tell their story. That's the backbone of Mormon Stories. And then the viewers and the listeners who have encouraged me, the donors that have financially supported us, couldn't have done it without you. And then my board members and my staff, like you, Maven, and others, Gerardo, obviously, and just all the staff I've had over the years. It's been a huge community effort. And I would be remiss to say we would not exist without all of those contributions. It's a community effort. I've been sustained by my donors and my supporters and my staff.
Yeah.
It seems like we're running against the hour. And thanks everyone for watching. Share, like, and subscribe. And check out Maven's channel. Check out Megan's channel. And if nobody's ever heard of Mormon Stories before, check out John Dehlin's channel. It's really pretty good. So anyway, thanks everybody. Have a great rest of the summer.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks
This
for
is
coming,
super
John.
fun. Good luck, everyone.
Well, so it looks to me like Mr. Dehlin pays his guests to come on. I'm wondering how much you pay your guests, Gene.
Just I give them a smile,
A smile and
a virtual pat on the back,
maybe an
And
air hug.
and my ringing endorsement of Mormon Stories there at the end probably brought in thousands and thousands of subscribers for John, right there.
So see, that was good pay for him. I'm just very impressed with some of the things I learned today. I learned that it was a rough start for John. I learned that it's not an easy business and that only the toughest are going to survive, or only those who have such a determination that they can't not do it, as he says. And when we become successful enough, Gene, maybe you and I will be paying our guests.
Yeah. John Dehlin did thrive on benefactors and calling for donations. And he was the man that helped everybody for the last 20 years catch his show and realize that they weren't alone, that there were other people that had problems with either the doctrine or the history or the culture of the church. And by showing people that everybody's struggling because there's sort of a sandy foundation that's there where they pretend that God is running the church, and they're just a bunch of guys that are, I would say, doing their best, but I'm not sure they do their best. I think they are trying to do what's safe and what keeps their paychecks rolling in, what keeps them flying around the world, globetrotting, and being worshipped by thousands of people at different stake centers that they go to, or different events like temple openings and stuff like that. So, they can hear this message, and if the SCMC is watching ever, and maybe improve, right?
Sure. And speaking of watching, we've got something coming up tonight. Would you cover the details of the tribute to John's 20-year anniversary?
Yeah. So tonight, starting at 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, we are going to host a show where people can not call in, but show up in the studio with a link. We'll be providing that. And there's about 20 people, about 10 podcasters are going to come on and say their thanks to John, talk about what it meant to them for John to either air stories that helped them, stay sane, or gave them a space to do a podcast, right? John Dehlin was the pioneer, sort of, along with some others that he mentioned in this interview, that, helped set the stage for more and more people. And so Alyssa Grenfell and Shalise Ann Sola have really taken that. They're a lot prettier than John or you and I. And
wait, I know they're prettier than you and John, but prettier than me?
I think if we took a poll, you
Gene.
might realize the truth of the matter. Maybe this is the same way that the leaders of the church, when they take a poll about how shitty the temple services are, that they change it. And then they think they change it enough. And then they take another poll, and sure enough, something else is wrong. And then they do another poll, and people are wondering why Jesus doesn't have a big play. Like, it's Jesus's church. We're supposed to be like Jesus. What do you think is like Jesus, Randy, the most?
what do I think is like Jesus the
If
most?
somebody was going to be like Jesus, what would their character be like, and how would they behave toward people?
They would never be judgmental. They would only offer love and support. And they would tell everybody that they were very pretty, including their co-host.
That's right. You're pretty, Randy, after all, anyway.
Thank you, Gene.
And so they also might tell people that they had more money than God, right? And let people know what they're doing with it and do something with it that actually helps people around them. And so, so from 4 to 7 tonight, Pacific time, we are going to basically let people know that today, 20 years ago, John Dehlin released his first YouTube podcasts. And he's been doing it for more than 20 years because he released podcasts without YouTube first. But YouTube started that year. It started 6 months earlier. And some people were thinking, how many people were watching YouTube back then in 2005 and 6? Hardly any, right?
As Barbara Mandrell says, he was country when country wasn't cool.
Yeah. And it wasn't until cat videos helped put YouTube on the map that people started watching it more. So thanks to cats.
Thank you, kitty cats.
There you go. Well, thanks everybody for watching.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming in.
I appreciated that John Dehlin came on our show. I appreciated Megan Connor for stepping up and she at first was going to be a substitute. And then when she said she reserved the whole day, I said, you have to be on camera. And so we ganged up on John a little bit with the three of us. And, Maven did a very good job. And she, looks good in it. She did a good job.
The whole thing went well.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you allowing me on here, Gene. And I know you appreciate me allowing you on Momo Nomo.
What people don't realize is that the thousands of hours I've dedicated to training Randy over the last couple of weeks has paid off because he was at the controls today and he did a fine job. And thanks, Randy, for pressing some buttons today.
I was a button pusher.
There's things to learn still, but nothing was too bad. Nothing was bad as I have done sometimes in the past.
Well,
but we learned from our mistakes.
Not that there was any pressure or anything, but you did tell me, Gene, before we started that you bet your wife, Michelle, $100 that I would F up and push wrong buttons. But looking back over the last hour, I think you owe Michelle $100.
I think so. I think you hit over 400. If you were a baseball player, you'd be in the Hall of Fame.
Nice.
For what happened. So for one of the early times that you were taking charge. So thanks everybody for watching. Share, like, and subscribe. Have a wonderful 2025. Come watch the show tonight. And if you're brave enough to thank John, maybe he sees it. Maybe he comes on at the end. Who knows? There's a rumor. And maybe John gets some payback, right? For all the hardships he tells us he's gone through, right? And so
excellent.
Anyway, we'll see you later. And